The night the little girl from Manila stepped onto the stage, no one knew her name, her story, or the quiet storm she carried inside her. The auditorium in Los Angeles shimmered with lights and restless chatter, filled with Americans waiting to be impressed, moved, or merely entertained. But backstage, a frail-looking 12-year-old clutched a sleeping infant against her chest as if the world might steal him away if she blinked. Her name was Liana Cruz, small, barefoot, and wearing a faded yellow dress that had been washed thin by years of rinsing in the Manila River. She looked out of place among the polished contestants and glamorous performers, but she stood tall because she had come too far to tremble now. A stagehand approached her, puzzled. "Sweetheart, you can't bring a baby on stage," he whispered in a gentle but firm tone. Liana nodded, her voice soft but steady. "I know, sir. Someone can hold him, just for the song." "Where's your guardian, your mom or dad?" She hesitated long enough for the man to realize there might not be anyone else. "He's my baby brother," she finally said. "Please, I need to sing." The man wasn't used to being moved by contestants, but something in her eyes and honesty deeper than her age pushed him to kneel down. "All right," he murmured. "I'll hold him for you." Before handing the baby over, Liana gently pressed her nose to the infant's forehead. "Hold my baby," she whispered, more to the universe than to the man. "I'm about to sing." And when she stepped out, the bright lights hit her like a tidal wave. The judges squinted, confused. The audience murmured, "Who was this tiny girl walking barefoot onto a national stage?" The host stepped toward her. "Hi there. What's your name?" "Liana," she said, "from Manila. And are you ready to sing?" She nodded once, her backbone straightening like the sound of her name depended on it. "All right, sweetheart, show us what you've got." The music started soft, simple, a piano under a single spotlight. But she didn't begin right away. She closed her eyes. The audience noticed how her shoulders shook not with fear but with something deeper. A sense of urgency, a story pressing against her ribs. Then she opened her mouth. The first note wasn't loud. It wasn't polished. It wasn't trained by professionals. But it was pure like a whisper sent from a place too honest to fake. And every person in that auditorium felt it hit them at once. Her voice carried grief and hope woven together so tightly that you couldn't separate them. She sang about the nights she spent rocking her brother to sleep, while their mother worked double shifts in the market. She sang about losing their father to a storm that swallowed half their village and left the other half learning to survive. She sang about hunger that gnawed at their stomachs and about dreams she patched together from the scraps of old songs her mother used to hum. But she also sang about faith, the kind you cling to when you're too young to understand why life hurts but old enough to feel that you must hold it together anyway. The song built like a rising tide, and people who came to the show for entertainment found themselves sinking into their seats, pinned by the weight of her truth. A woman in the third row clutched her chest. A judge wiped a tear before the camera could catch her. A father in the balcony who hadn't hugged his daughter in months suddenly felt ashamed. Liana didn't just sing. She cracked open a window into a world Americans rarely saw yet instantly understood because pain is universal and so is love. Midway through the song, something unexpected happened. The baby, still cradled in the stagehand's arms backstage, began to whimper. A soft, lonely cry drifted toward the stage, and though the audience barely noticed, Liana did. Her voice faltered for the briefest second. Her eyes flicked toward the wing, instinctively searching for him. But then she did something extraordinary. She kept singing, but she shifted her melody. She softened her tone, steadied her pitch, and suddenly her voice took on the shape of a lullaby. It was subtle enough that most listeners thought it was artistic choice. But the baby knew. His crying stopped instantly. He recognized the song, not the public version, but the private one, the one she used to calm him during nights when the power went out and fear filled their tiny home. The entire auditorium felt the shift, even if they didn't understand it. By the time she reached the final, trembling note, the room was silent. Not a TV-style dramatic silence. A real one. A human one. The kind that only happens when everyone knows they've witnessed something unrepeatable. When the note dissolved into the air, no one clapped at first. No one moved. Then, like a wave breaking, the entire audience rose to their feet. People weren't just applauding, they were crying. Big, unapologetic tears. America didn't just hear her, they felt her. The host walked out slowly, visibly shaken. "Liana, I don't think any of us expected that. Where did all that come from?" She didn't smile. She didn't soak in the praise. She simply said, "My brother. I need to take care of him. If I win, I can help my mom." The camera panned to the judges, one of them usually harsh, known for his icy critiques, pulled off his glasses and cleared his throat. "Young lady, you didn't just sing, you reminded us what it means to be human." The applause roared again, louder this time. After the show ended, backstage was a whirlwind of producers, reporters, and staff trying to reach her, but she ignored the attention. She rushed straight to her brother, scooped him up, and held him close. Only then did she allow herself to breathe. One producer, moved beyond words, approached her quietly. "Your life is about to change." Liana looked up with teary eyes. "I hope my family's life changes. That's why I sang." But the real twist, the one no one expected, came a week later. Her performance went viral. Not because she was a child prodigy, but because she represented something Americans didn't realize they were starving for: sincerity, the kind that cuts through division, noise, and cynicism like sunlight through fog. Millions watched her video not once but repeatedly. Soldiers in hospitals played it before bed. Single mothers shared it with their kids. Teachers used it in classrooms when lessons felt heavy. Even people who didn't understand her language understood her heart. Donations began pouring in. Offers to help her family, scholarships, record deals, grants for their village. People from every corner of the country reached out, not with pity, but with admiration. And through it all, Liana stayed the same: small, barefoot, determined. When America cried for her, she didn't feel powerful, she felt seen. For the first time in her 12 years, the world wasn't ignoring the struggles she carried. It was lifting them with her. Months later, when she returned to Manila with her brother on her hip and her mother's hand in hers, the entire neighborhood gathered to welcome them home. Kids who once teased her for dreaming too big now followed her around like she was a spark that might ignite their own hopes. And May she was. Liana didn't win the show, not officially, but she won something better. She won hearts, she won opportunity, she won a future that once felt impossible. And the moment she tucked her baby brother into bed that night, humming the same lullaby that had carried her across the ocean, she realized something profound. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest truths. Sometimes the people with the least give the most. And sometimes all it takes to move the world is a little girl holding her brother, whispering, "Hold my baby, I'm about to sing."